The Galactic Council had not always been so dismissive of humanity. Decades ago, they had learned firsthand of Earth's surprising strength and tactical brilliance during a conflict that had caught everyone off guard. Back then, the Council had pushed too far into human territory, believing they were facing a primitive, newly space-faring species. Instead, they had been met with a strategic resistance so fierce and unpredictable that it left scars across their fleet and pride. Humanity had proven resourceful, innovative, and most alarmingly, willing to fight to the last man. The Council had retreated, chastened and wary, recognizing that Earth was not to be underestimated. But time has a way of dulling memories and eroding respect. Over the years, the once vivid recollections of Earth's defiance faded into legend and myth, dismissed by newer generations as exaggerated tales told by their elders. The galaxy was vast, and many more pressing concerns arose, pushing humanity to the back of the Council's mind. Newer, younger voices on the Council began to question the need for caution, arguing that the humans were no longer a threat. They noted that Earth had remained quiet, seemingly content with its small patch of territory, showing no signs of expansion or aggression. To them, this was a sign that humanity had softened, that perhaps the stories of their power had been overblown. Slowly, the Council's perception shifted. What was once cautious respect turned to dismissive complacency. They began to see humanity as a minor player on the galactic stage, a species that had made a brief, unexpected stand but had since settled back into obscurity. Some even suggested that Earth's resistance during the last conflict had been a fluke, a one-time event that could not be replicated. The humans were a curiosity, perhaps, but not a force to be taken seriously any longer. Emboldened by this new attitude, discussions began to surface within the Council chambers. They saw an opportunity to expand their territory further by encroaching on human-held space. Humanity had remained within its borders for years, seemingly content, showing no desire to engage with or challenge the Council. The time seemed ripe to test Earth's defenses once again. A few older members voiced concern, recalling the last time they had underestimated the humans, but their objections were quickly dismissed. The prevailing sentiment was clear: humanity had grown weak and complacent, and now was the moment to reassert control over those forgotten sectors. The decision was made, quietly, confidently. A modest force would be dispatched to probe the human territories, to gauge their defenses and, if possible, push them back further, reclaiming space that the Council believed should never have been ceded in the first place. The Council's leaders were convinced that the humans would offer little resistance, that they would not dare challenge the might of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful alliance. And so, preparations began. Ships were readied, troops were briefed, and a small fleet set course for the outer fringes of human space. The Council's confidence was palpable. There was no sense of urgency, no fear of what lay ahead. They expected an easy victory, a swift reaffirmation of their dominance. This was, after all, just a show of force, a reminder to the galaxy that the Council still held sway over even the most distant sectors. As their ships crossed the invisible line into human-held space, there was no indication that they expected trouble. They moved leisurely, scanning the area, finding no significant signs of human activity or defenses. They saw empty space, unclaimed systems, and nothing to suggest that Earth had prepared for their arrival. To the Council, it seemed their assumptions were correct. Humanity had indeed grown soft, complacent, and uninterested in resisting. They pushed further into the territory, the outer fringes of human space now within their grasp. The Council's forces, emboldened by the apparent lack of resistance, began to relax. Their leaders spoke of easy victories and swift conquests, unaware of the unseen eyes watching from the darkness of space. They did not realize that they had just awakened a force that had been preparing, patiently, quietly, for this very moment. As the Council's ships moved deeper into human space, a quiet confidence filled their ranks, convinced that they were on the brink of an effortless expansion. They had forgotten the lessons of the past, and soon they would learn, once again, the price of underestimating humanity. In a quiet, distant sector of deep space, far beyond the reach of curious eyes, a secret fleet has been biding its time. Known to only a handful of Earth's most senior leaders, this fleet has been humanity's hidden blade, a force meticulously developed in anticipation of the day when the Galactic Council would once again overreach. Stationed on the fringes of known space, hidden within asteroid fields and nebulae, the fleet has been maintained, upgraded, and honed for decades. Every new piece of technology, every tactical innovation, has been tested and perfected in isolation, far from the gaze of the galaxy. The fleet is no ordinary armada. It is composed of the descendants of Earth's finest. These men and women, born and bred for this purpose, carry the legacy of humanity's greatest warriors, engineers, and strategists. Raised on stories of Earth's last stand against the Council, they have been trained from birth in the arts of war, strategy, and adaptation. They know every Council tactic, every maneuver, every mistake made in the past. To them, this is not just a duty, it is a birthright, a calling. Each member has been chosen for their skill, intellect, and unwavering resolve, forming a force unlike any other in the galaxy. Their ships are unlike anything the galaxy has seen. Outfitted with the latest in cloaking technology, they can move unseen through the darkest corners of space, vanishing at will and reappearing without warning. Their weaponry has been enhanced to deliver maximum damage with minimal energy signatures, railguns that fire silently but hit with the force of a small star, energy torpedoes that can bend through space to find their target, and laser systems capable of cutting through the thickest armor with surgical precision. The fleet's AI-driven tactical systems analyze battle conditions in real time, predicting enemy movements and adapting strategies in seconds. Each ship is designed for speed and agility, capable of maneuvering through asteroid fields and debris clouds where no other vessel dares venture. For years, this secret fleet has been preparing, running countless simulations, and conducting clandestine drills. Every possible scenario has been considered, every potential weakness scrutinized and turned into a strength. The commanders, seasoned veterans with a lifetime of training, have been waiting for a sign, any indication that the Galactic Council might make a move. They have watched from the shadows, gathering intelligence, observing the Council's activities, and waiting for the moment to strike. They know that the Council's arrogance would eventually lead them to make the same mistake again. And now, that moment has arrived. Intelligence reports come in, glimpses of the Council's ships crossing into human space, movements that betray their intent. The fleet's commanders gather, their faces etched with determination. They have anticipated this day for years, and every person present knows what is at stake. They have been underestimated, forgotten, and dismissed, but now they will show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. Orders are given swiftly, and the fleet comes to life. Silent engines hum as ships glide out from their hidden positions, their cloaking devices activating in unison. The fleet moves like a phantom, unseen, a dark force lurking on the edges of known space. The commanders coordinate with a precision that comes from years of training together, their orders relayed through encrypted channels that the Council has no hope of intercepting. The tension is palpable, but there is no fear, only the calm certainty of those who know their purpose. The fleet receives the final intelligence update. The Council's forces have breached the outer fringes, overconfident and unaware of the danger that lies ahead. The commanders make their decision. The time for waiting is over. It is time to remind the galaxy why humanity was never meant to be underestimated. With a single, silent command, the fleet moves out of the shadows, its ships slipping into position like predators stalking their prey. They are ready to strike, ready to unleash the power they have carefully nurtured for decades. The message is clear: the Council has forgotten humanity's strength, and now they will be forced to remember. The hidden force emerges, poised to turn the tide of galactic history once again. The Galactic Council's forces advance confidently, their ships slicing through the quiet void of human territory. Scanners sweep in every direction, searching for any sign of resistance, but they detect nothing. The data streams back to the command ships: clear skies, no significant defenses, nothing to suggest a prepared opposition. The Council commanders, relaxed and sure of their superiority, press further into what they believe to be an undefended sector. Then, without warning, the human fleet appears. Ships materialize from the darkness, emerging as if from nowhere, their cloaking technology dropping in perfect unison. A formation of sleek, powerful vessels surrounds the Council's fleet, catching them completely off guard. For a brief moment there is silence, a stunned pause as the Council's forces register the impossible. Their sensors flare to life, alarms blaring across the command decks. Confusion sweeps through their ranks as they scramble to understand how a force of this size and power could have gone undetected. The humans do not wait. They strike with precision, their tactics calculated and ruthless. Railguns fire with deadly accuracy, tearing through the hulls of command ships before the enemy can raise their shields. Energy torpedoes are unleashed, bending through the void to strike at supply vessels and key points in the fleet's formation. Each shot is devastating, hitting its mark with unerring precision. Within minutes, several Council ships are crippled, their engines dead, their systems flickering as power drains away. The Council commanders shout orders, attempting to regroup, but every attempt is thwarted. Human ships move like shadows, darting in and out, using their superior speed and maneuverability to stay one step ahead. Smaller frigates and corvettes flank the larger enemy vessels, targeting their engines and weapon systems with surgical strikes. Drones launched from hidden carriers swarm the Council's ships, sowing confusion and disarray. A coordinated barrage of laser fire disables key communication nodes, cutting off command ships from their fleets. Chaos ensues. Council ships, built for large-scale battles and relying on brute force, are caught off balance by the humans' swift and unpredictable assault. They struggle to adapt to an enemy that seems to strike from every direction at once. Their formation, once tight and orderly, begins to fray as ships maneuver desperately to avoid incoming fire. The Council's admirals, watching from the bridge, realize with dawning horror that they are facing a force that knows their tactics inside and out. Every move they make is countered with a precision that suggests the humans have been preparing for this moment all along. Panic spreads as more ships are disabled or destroyed. The Council's forces attempt to fall back, but the human fleet gives them no quarter. Human ships push forward relentlessly, cutting off escape routes, tightening their formation around the enemy. A squadron of bombers makes a daring run through the center of the Council's fleet, dropping kinetic charges that explode with devastating force, further fracturing their ranks. The Council commanders try to rally, to reform their lines, but the human ships are everywhere, slipping through gaps, striking from unexpected angles. Every second brings a new blow, a fresh wave of destruction. Supply lines are severed, ammunition depots are targeted, fuel carriers explode in bursts of light. The Council's fleet, once so orderly and disciplined, is now a patchwork of shattered vessels and frantic maneuvers. Officers shout conflicting orders, and the once cohesive command structure begins to splinter. There is a dawning realization that they have walked into a trap, a carefully laid ambush by an enemy who has been waiting for this very moment. The Council attempts a desperate counterattack, rallying their remaining ships for a push against the human flank, but it is too late. The humans anticipate their move, repositioning with a fluidity that leaves no opening. A wave of concentrated fire hits the Council's lead ships, crippling their advance and driving them back. Human tactics are relentless, a blend of old and new strategies, combining raw firepower with cunning misdirection. Every attempt by the Council to regroup is met with another round of precise, coordinated strikes. With each passing moment, the Council's forces grow more disoriented, their initial confidence shattered. What they believed would be a straightforward display of force has become a desperate fight for survival. Their commanders, realizing the gravity of their miscalculation, begin to consider retreat. But retreat is no longer an option. The humans have cut off their escape routes, leaving them trapped and outmaneuvered. As the last remnants of the Council fleet attempt to regroup, they are met with relentless pressure from all sides. The humans press their advantage, exploiting every weakness, forcing the Council to confront the reality of their arrogance. The realization sets in: they have underestimated humanity, and now they are paying the price. This is no skirmish, it is a brutal reminder of the power they once feared and foolishly forgot. The Galactic Council, reeling from the initial onslaught, decides to shift its strategy. Believing that overwhelming force is the answer, they call upon their most advanced ships and weapons. Massive dreadnoughts, bristling with heavy artillery, are brought to the front lines. Swarms of fighter squadrons are launched, and warships equipped with energy shields and experimental weaponry move into formation. The Council is determined to crush the human fleet with sheer numbers and firepower, convinced that their technological superiority will turn the tide. But the humans are ready. As the Council's forces advance, the human fleet moves with a fluidity and speed that defies conventional tactics. Rather than facing the Council head-on, they break into smaller, highly mobile units, darting in and out of range, striking at vulnerable points, then vanishing before a counterattack can be mounted. Their maneuvers are rapid and unpredictable, exploiting every weakness in the Council's strategy. Ships equipped with cloaking devices slip behind enemy lines, delivering crippling blows to critical systems before disappearing into the darkness. The Council's warships, built for direct confrontation, struggle to respond to this new form of warfare. Their massive dreadnoughts, designed to withstand prolonged sieges, find themselves too slow and cumbersome to keep up. Their energy shields, once thought impenetrable, are overwhelmed by concentrated bursts of human firepower, strategically targeted to create breaches. Their fighter squadrons, accustomed to facing enemies in traditional dogfights, are caught off guard by the humans' evasive maneuvers and countermeasures. Key moments of heroism begin to unfold among the human fleet. A small squadron of human fighters, led by a young pilot with unparalleled reflexes, dives into the heart of the Council's formation, weaving through enemy fire with impossible agility. They target the engines of a Council battleship, crippling it in one precise strike before pulling away just as the ship explodes. Elsewhere, a human frigate, captained by a seasoned veteran, slips through a gap in the enemy lines, delivering a devastating barrage that disables a crucial command vessel. The Council's forces, struggling to reorganize, are left in disarray. Desperation starts to spread among the Council ranks. Every move they make is anticipated, every tactic countered. They deploy more advanced weapons, particle beams, plasma torpedoes, gravity bombs, but each is met with a countermeasure they had not foreseen. The humans jam their targeting systems, divert their projectiles, and disable their weapons with pinpoint accuracy. Nothing seems to work. The humans are not only fighting with superior tactics, they are fighting with an intensity and adaptability that the Council simply cannot match. With each passing moment, the Council's losses mount. Ships are destroyed or disabled, their crews left stranded in the void. Commanders, once confident of victory, find themselves grappling with confusion and fear. Reports of failures and setbacks flood their communication channels, and the realization begins to sink in: they are losing. The standard strategies that have served them for centuries are proving useless against this enemy. The Council is caught in a battle they did not expect, against a foe that has learned and evolved far beyond their expectations. A sense of dread fills the Council's command ship as they receive reports of yet another sector lost, another key vessel destroyed. They attempt one final, desperate maneuver, concentrating their forces to break through the human lines and reach a position from which they can regroup. But the humans are ready. They allow the Council to press forward, creating the illusion of a breakthrough, only to spring their trap. The Council's ships are funneled into a narrow corridor, where they are met with a withering crossfire from all sides. Human ships, emerging from hidden positions, hammer the Council's forces relentlessly. The Council's command ship, the center of their fleet and the symbol of their authority, is suddenly hit by a series of precise strikes. Explosions ripple across its surface as critical systems fail. Alarms blare, and smoke fills the bridge. The leaders aboard, once certain of their dominance, are now faced with the grim reality of their situation. The ship shudders violently, and damage reports flood in. Key systems are offline, their shields are failing, and the hull is breached in multiple places. For the first time, the possibility of total defeat looms before them. Panic sets in among the Council's leaders. They had underestimated the humans, thinking them weak and disorganized, and now they are paying the price for their arrogance. As the command ship lists to one side, its hull ablaze, they are forced to confront the stark truth: they are not facing the same humans they had once dismissed. These are warriors who have grown stronger in the shadows, waiting for this moment, ready to reclaim their place in the galaxy. The battle is no longer about territory or dominance, it is a fight for survival, and they are on the losing end. The Galactic Council, battered and on the verge of collapse, gathers its remaining forces for one final, desperate push. They know this is their last chance to turn the tide or at least escape with enough dignity to save face. With a resolve born of desperation, they aim to break through the human defenses and regroup in a safer sector. The Council's commanders rally their troops, calling for one coordinated assault to pierce the enemy lines. But humanity is prepared. As the Council's forces advance, the human fleet moves into action with a seamless coordination that belies their smaller numbers. The battlefield erupts in a storm of activity. Cyber warfare units, hidden within the depths of Earth's network, unleash a torrent of digital attacks. Viruses spread through the Council's systems like wildfire, disrupting communications, shutting down weapons, and scrambling targeting computers. Command ships find themselves blind and mute, cut off from their fleet, their screens filled with static and corrupted data. At the same time, a wave of psychological operations begins. Hackers breach the Council's internal networks, broadcasting unsettling messages, sowing discord and doubt among their ranks. Disinformation spreads rapidly. Some ships receive orders to retreat, others to advance into traps. Paranoia sets in as the Council's forces start to suspect sabotage from within. The carefully planned final assault begins to fracture before it even reaches the human lines. Human ships press their advantage, launching a series of coordinated strikes. Squadrons of bombers dart in and out of enemy formations, dropping kinetic bombs and launching torpedoes that tear through the Council's ships. Precision artillery from hidden positions bombards the enemy's rear, cutting off potential escape routes. The Council's forces, once a disciplined machine, start to break apart. Ships collide, lines falter, and formations crumble. The commanders struggle to maintain order, their voices drowned out by the chaos of the battle. In the center of this maelstrom, the Council's flagship, the symbol of their power and authority, becomes the primary target. The human fleet shifts its focus, converging on the flagship with relentless precision. Guided missiles swarm toward it, finding gaps in its armor, while a squadron of human fighters dive on its engines. The ship's shields flicker and fail under the concentrated fire, and explosions ripple across its hull. The Council's leaders aboard the flagship feel the ship shudder, alarms blaring, lights flickering. Desperation grips them as they realize their situation is slipping beyond control. Humanity unleashes its full arsenal. Drones equipped with hacking tools attach themselves to the Council's ships, seizing control of key systems and turning their own weapons against them. Boarding parties infiltrate the Council's vessels, capturing strategic points and sowing further panic. The Council's forces, overwhelmed and leaderless, begin to scatter in all directions. What was meant to be a final push now turns into a frantic retreat. The flagship is hit again, a massive explosion tearing through its core. Fire and debris shoot into space, and the once mighty vessel begins to list, its hull breaking apart. The Council's remaining ships attempt to cover its escape, but it is too late. The human fleet closes in, delivering the final, crippling blows that force the Council to sound the retreat. Broken and humiliated, the Council's forces withdraw, limping away from the battlefield, leaving wreckage and chaos in their wake. As the dust settles, the victorious human fleet moves into a defensive formation, their ships gleaming in the starlight, unmarred by the battle's fury. A broadcast signal is sent across the galaxy, a message from Earth to all who might be watching. Let this stand as a reminder. Humanity's strength is not a thing of the past. We are here, we are ready, and we will not be underestimated again. The transmission ends, but the message lingers, a stark warning to any who might think to challenge Earth's resolve.